Chapter 1. Maybe I should back up a little. I trailed off, not sure where to start or how much to tell the woman sitting next to me. The day we shifted him at my parents' place, I paused briefly and she nodded, her short blonde hair moving as she silently encouraged me to continue. After everyone left, he went back into the tack room and shifted again. When he came out, before I had a chance to say anything, he kissed me. I took a deep breath, using the time to choose my words carefully before continuing. Not a thanks for giving me something I've wanted for years kiss, a real kiss. It was like he'd been waiting for some sign from me that it was what I wanted, and now he had it. I didn't see him for a couple of days after that, but that's not uncommon when we're both working. After work one evening, he brought over dinner and confronted me about avoiding him. He said that I'm his potential mate, and he suspects that he's mine too. I had no clue what he was talking about. I'd never heard of such a thing. He explained some of it, but suggested I talk to you about it. I looked away, avoiding her face. It's not that I don't believe him or trust him to tell me the truth. I was talking to my friend Alexis. She wasn't only my friend but the pack's Harmonia, the second female in the pack, and the pack's only healer too. Harmonia was her rank, a position she'd won with skill and power. Being able to heal others was a talent. Theoretically, any kitsune could develop the talent to be a healer, but in actuality, it wasn't common. But I want more. I want to know as much as I can. No, I understand, she said, her green eyes sympathetic. It's entirely reasonable to want to know as much as possible, especially about something that can affect you so strongly. Are you sure that he's your potential mate? Not entirely, but from what he's told me, it seems likely. I admitted. We were talking about Devon, a longtime friend whom I'd recently started dating after he and I had agreed to see where our mutual attraction took us. I'm a lot more attracted to him than I've ever been before, to anyone, and if we spend more than a day or two without seeing each other, I miss him. I'm not sure if that's a mating thing or what, but it's new to me. I find myself wanting to touch him at every opportunity. Not always in blatant or sexual ways either, often it's just contact I'm after, to feel the warmth of his skin, the brush of his hair. It sounds like it could be mating instinct. Have you thought about what you want to do? Dev said the only way to stop it is to not see each other at all. To cut off all contact, Alexis nodded, confirming the information. Neither of us wants to do that. So at least for now, we've agreed to see how things go. I guess you could say we're dating now, but that sounds so high school. I wrinkled my nose at the idea. You realize it's going to get worse, don't you? How so? You'll experience stronger desire to touch, to be together. I'll be frank here, sex will relieve it some, but only temporarily. Is that all? Well, every pair is different in some way. Hank became very protective of me, all but wrapped me in cotton balls to keep me safe, even when there was no call for it. I've seen couples who couldn't stand to touch anyone but each other. You never know what will develop until it does. Does it ever stop? Only if you totally separate, no contact at all. Even then, it takes time for the effects to fade. However, sealing the mating calms a lot of the symptoms. They're not gone, but they're manageable. But you need to consider it carefully before you take the step to end it. Do you really want to have the draw between you, the way you want him, to be just gone? No, not really. I smiled, thinking of Devon. I pictured him in my mind, and my fingers curled with the ache to touch his skin. There you are. Alexis smiled in return, leaning back in her seat. He said something about gaining powers and sharing strengths? I continued my questioning. That's right. Mated pairs often gain power. Whether it merely strengthens the powers they already have, or they gain additional powers, varies. There's often a connection between the two mates. A connection that lets each of them know when something's wrong with the other. I know instantly if Hank is seriously hurt, for example. Often mated pairs, especially powerful ones, are able to share energy and sometimes talents. The Anikitos and Electo of Hank's old pack could use each other's talents. Hank and I can't do that, and as far as I know, neither can Bill and Karen, but we can borrow each other's energy. If needed, he can use energy I send him, and vice versa. I rarely have occasion to use it, but once in a while, when I have several injured to heal, I do. How interesting. I was intrigued. The benefits of sealing a mating were definitely adding up. But as inviting as they were, it wasn't enough to compel me to rush into it just for the boost in powers. Alexis and I visited a while longer, talking about mutual friends and local events, and as I was getting ready to go, Alexis remembered something. Oh yeah, I was supposed to tell you. Hank's invited his sister, Lauren, for a visit. She'll be here all next week. I'm working on something so you can have a chance to spend some time with her, so you can get a feel for whether or not you can shift her. That's great, just let me know the details. Will do. I'll try to schedule whatever I end up doing so that Devin can come too. That would be great. I left looking forward to the evening I'd planned to spend with Devin. It was still early afternoon when I got home. I had plenty of time to put together the dinner I'd planned, as well as shower and dress before Devin would get off work. I absently climbed the stairs to my third-floor apartment. Stepping through the front door, I hung my purse on the inside doorknob and headed straight for the kitchen. After washing my hands, I set about putting our meal together. I enjoy the process of cooking, the taking of individual ingredients, and crafting them into something more. Once I had things to the final stages, the enchiladas ready to go into the oven, the salad ready to be served, I put it all into the fridge and headed to take a shower. I dressed carefully for the evening. I wanted to look nice, but I'm not really one to spend a lot of time on my clothes or hair. I ended up wearing a cute little sundress, full of bright colors that I knew picked up the reds in my hair and the green in my eyes. Since I didn't plan on going anywhere, I opted to remain barefoot. It was both more comfortable and, in my opinion, a little more sexy. I just slid the enchiladas into the oven and was still closing the oven door when I heard the knock on my door. Because I was expecting Devin anytime, I didn't bother to check the peephole or scent the air to be sure it was him before opening the door. Brandon, what are you doing here? I stood in the doorway, not letting him in. I wanted to talk to you. You should have called. I had to look up slightly to meet his soft golden brown eyes. His eyes looked sad, dejected, but I didn't let that sway me. You won't answer my calls. He was right. I still didn't know what to say to him. Things just couldn't be the same between us. We had grown up together and been best friends since kindergarten, but I couldn't and wouldn't spend time with someone who thought they could control me. I don't care if it's by manipulation or by violence as Brandon had tried when he slapped me. I looked up into the round, dimpled face that was as familiar to me as my own. I don't know what you want me to say, Brandon. You seem to think that I belong to you, and that when I disagree with you, you have the right to hit me. You're wrong, and I won't put up with being treated like that, not by my friends, not by anyone. I said I was sorry. You did. And if I thought you were sorry about everything, then maybe I could accept it. But I don't. I hate that you think non-shifters and humans are inferior. I hate that you think I belong to you, and I don't think that you're saying you're sorry for hitting me has changed that one bit. But if you could just see. It was the same thing he'd been claiming since shortly after my first shift. I cut him off. No, Brandon. We were friends for years. I don't understand how you could be the person I knew growing up and believe what you do. You've hidden too much from me. But you're my mate. I'm sorry you feel that way, Brandon, but it's not there for me. I don't feel drawn to you at all. You just don't understand. Yes, I do. I've been told about mating. But how do you know you don't feel this for me? Brandon, I'm not discussing this with you. I have nothing more to say to you. Please just go. Wait, you're dressed for a date. He tried to change the subject. Please leave, Brandon. I repeated. Who are you seeing? I tried to close the door, blocking him and his questions outside, but he stuck his foot in the door. I'm not doing this, Brandon. I didn't release the door. I wasn't giving him an inch. I didn't let up the pressure on the door, afraid that if I did, he would try to force his way inside. Tell me who you're seeing. Brandon, go home. It's him, isn't it? That unnatural kindred, the non-shifter. I don't know anyone by that description. If you mean Devin, you should know he shifts now. I could see his face through the gap in the door, and the surprise that he couldn't keep from showing at the news. Since when? And how? I'm not going into that. But he shifts now, so you and your little group of elitists can leave him alone. We'll see about that. He pulled his foot out of the door, and it closed with a slam from my weight against it. I locked the door before looking out a nearby window. I wanted to make sure he was headed down the stairs. Leaning against the closed door, I sighed in relief that he hadn't turned violent again.